Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
I'm here with friends today. Our special guests, we have Mark, back by popular demand as Rich, as he descends further and further into looking like a dwarf, and as always, Sean, who is always right.
That's right. And here we are. So two of us have still not seen Guardians of the Galaxy, so we are not going to be talking about that today because Kelly wants to go see it right after this recording, and no spoilers. So we're doing kind of a mixed bag instead of things we wanted to talk about. What's that, Sean?
I was just going to say, and I'm very interested, not in what Rich thinks.
I just want vengeance and grudges. That's all I want.
No. So I wanted to ask you guys, did any of you guys see the new Star Wars stuff that came out?
No.
The announcements?
No. The new shows that came out, Star Wars Visions Season 2 and Almost Rogue One, the Simpsons / Star Wars cross with Maggie.
No, please share.
I am unfamiliar with both of them. Well, the Visions Season 2, I think I saw the thing for it when I was looking through one of the channels, but the other one I'm not even familiar with.
I've just seen the scuttlebutt about the new Rey movie and the Acolyte and how everyone's hating on it.
Yeah. Man, the first season of Visions, I thought actually had some interesting stuff in it and enjoyed that quite a bit. This one, no. This one, no. Almost every single one of them was the same thing, and I don't even want to go into it. It was just another one of those things that you see Star Wars, as we've talked about numerous times. You see it descending further and further down this one path. It just goes much further down there. There was one episode in there that I thought was good. The second one that had a cool twist to it, and I liked that one. All the others, no. No. It went from claymation to 2D to, and they were all from different studios, Scottish and Irish and all this stuff, and Mexican, I think, and some others. And all of them were very much the same and just very disappointing. And I was hoping for something better because the first season, of course, being Japanese studios, had, I think a little bit more nuance to them than these. And it was just disappointing. And I didn't even watch the Maggie thing. I couldn't. I saw the little, thumbnail for it with Maggie sitting there in some X-wing or whatever the hell it was, and I immediately blanked that out.
I feel that the Writers Guild strike is going to save us all from more bad Star Wars shows for at least a little while.
The advantage of that, right?
No, the sad thing is that Andor stopped production.
Right.
Oh, I know. I saw that. Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I was like, come on, the one thing that I was waiting for.
Well, the guy doesn't want to be a scab, He doesn't want to be crossing the picket lines.
Oh, I don't blame him. I blame all the other writers.
The ones who can't write good.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, we can't say, like, in an open marketplace of people, so as writers, let's talk about, like, submitting scripts and things like that, right? The cream's going to rise to the top, right? You're going to get, if you're like, hey, I want to publish a thing, say, think book publishing as well. They get a ton of manuscripts, and when they get a good one, they're like, oh, awesome, we're going to publish this one. It feels like okay. Did I not make my point? You just want to make another one? That's fun. If I wanted that, I'd be with my ex-wife.
That is exactly the payoff right there.
Yeah.
Now we can continue.
I'm gonna cancel this podcast and go home.
So the real question there, Mark, is if cream rises to the top, why does Disney keep taking writers from the very bottom?
That's what I'm getting at, right? Like,
okay. Could you get
novels? When when a bunch of people submit novels to a publishing company, they pick the best, right? Does anybody here think that Disney has been picking the best writers and the best scripts?
I mean,
I don't think so, right? So I think this issue is not the best writers are working on it. I think there's some kind of wacky nepotism of, we like this person has the right politics, this person is related to the right person, this person is a friend of that person, which is how the world works. I get it. That doesn't necessarily make it all bad, but man, like a lot, these scripts have to go through enough hands, right? Enough people that are part of this production process that not a single one of them were like, hey, maybe this isn't such a good idea. And we end up with Obi-Wan as just like an entire series of Obi-Wan.
Because they want the person that checks the boxes the best for whatever their qualifications are. Our qualifications are the stories as excellent as the stories which have come before or better? Their qualifications are, how many of these ESG boxes do you check?
Well,
I refuse to believe that somebody that checks all of those ESG boxes can't write a good story. Pick the good ones. I firmly believe there are plenty of creative people out there who are black, gay, lesbian, Asian, whatever you want to call it, that are checking certain boxes. You don't want to give it to a white guy. Cool. Get somebody who knows how to tell a story. I
don't even know if it gets to that point. I think what's going on is Disney had a budget, right? And they said, okay, you can make this show, but here's your budget. And so within that, everybody's trying to fit. And so all you're going to do is you're going to pick the writer who either A, knows how to follow instructions and not rock the boat, or as a writer, you're like, I just need a paycheck. I'm just going to go do whatever they tell me to do. And they'll save some of their creative work for somebody else who's willing to pay more.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Kelly. But most of the budget goes to production, not to script, though. Script writing is free, which is, for lack of a better term, like writing the script, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean you can write some crap that got I'll just put it in, or you can write something that is amazing. That is creativity pouring your soul onto a page. That costs the same amount of blood, sweat, and tears as pouring like crap onto a page. Like that doesn't cost Disney more money or less money. They've taken some really crappy scripts when I'm sure there's plenty of people who would love to be working on Star Wars who have this creativity and would love to jump in there. They had a guy who made Rogue One who did that, right? So
yeah.
And can I clarify, Mark? Because you misconstrued what I was saying. I'm not saying that the writer checks the boxes. I'm saying that the product that they produce checks the boxes, not the writer themselves.
Right.
I'm saying that what they put out fits all of the categories that they want to deal with, right? But none of those categories have anything to do with storytelling, characters, holding to the lore, holding to what has come before, profitability even.
I would throw another word in there. I'd throw safety in there. They want to stay between these yellow lines, right? Mm-hmm. They don't want to do something, like Game of Thrones. It's like, you know what? Let's kill Ed Stark off right now. Whack. What the heck? Who's this show about? You know what I mean? And, oh, you know what? The Red Wedding. Whack. Oh my God. Like we were talking about that for months, right? So, but that was not safe, right? They killed off major characters. They did things that changed the world, right? Let's blow up the Sept of Baelor with everybody in it. You're like, oh my God, right?
To your point, Mark, Game of Thrones is a good example. You had a lot of those, what a lot of people would consider, I don't know, more of a non-traditional situations and, from vaguely objectionable to, man, they shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. But it was all written very well, save the last, couple seasons, not barring that, while they were still with
George R. R. Martin gets the credit for the good parts of it, right?
Yeah.
One of the greatest scenes. I think I'll take 2 chickens.
yeah, great. And
very dicey.
Another one that was like that was The Last of Us. The Last of Us I thought was really well done too. Not to say either is perfect or any of that stuff, but it's to your point, Mark, where they were taking chances. It wasn't just beating you over the head with whatever the lesson was, or the personal, I don't know, belief or justice thing or whatever.
Right. I'm gonna teach you.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't
show you where
so
you
much
went wrong.
That. It was just well written to give a slice of what this life was, and creating a little debate in there. Yeah, being entertaining, allowing us to sit here and get different interpretations and trying to figure out this. That's what's fun. That's really what's fun, man. I don't like it when someone, as I said, beats you over the head with their personal belief, vendetta against whatever social injustice they believe and all that. When it's so heavy-handed, regardless of which side, it just becomes overbearing. And I'll give you an example, not just on what most would talk about with the woke side and all that sort of thing. But you go to the other side, you take a look at most church videos, right, about Jesus Christ and that sort of thing. And as a religious guy, love Jesus. I hate those videos. Hate them. By and large, I think The Chosen is actually written very well, but by and large, all the other ones, it's awful. It's awful.
They're coming.
And it's because it's so heavy-handed. It's ham-fisted, so heavy-handed. It's just, it becomes boring and objectionable at that point. You know what I mean? So yeah, I that sort of thing just comes right through, and it seems like the scripts were written with a crayon and just awful. So
right, and it's unforgivable. Like honestly, if I had to pick a side right now, I'm on the side of the writers in the writer's strike. Nowhere near Hollywood. Don't have any, really dog in this fight. I freely admit there's a lot that I don't know. I did read George R.R. Martin actually put out a thing on his blog, and he's been on strike for like 5 years, right? So he's been
like 3,000 days.
I know he's been on strike forever, so he knows, right? But he was like, "Listen, when I started on television, right, I was, the low end on the writer, and I'm working on this show." But he's like, I was there while they were filming it, and I was there while they were editing it, and I was there while when it came out, and then he moved up and became more than just a writer and producer and executive producer and all these other kind of things. But he was like, that's how you start, and he's like, Hollywood is very different now, where they bring the writers in, do a writers' room, pet these guys on the head, pay them their little money, and send them out the door, and they're never there for any other thing of it. And he's like, 10 years from now, who are our showrunners going to be if we're not bringing along this next generation or whatever? And that made a lot of sense. But again, I'm not in that world or whatever. But let's face it, the streaming companies are making some money. The Blu-ray companies made money back during the heyday of all that. And let's face it, without the writers, good writers we remember. You know what I mean? Like their prose works its way into the common lexicon. So when I tell somebody, "Oh, my sweet summer child," we know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the Southern "Oh, bless your heart."
Right. By the way, two things I could do without ever hearing again in my entire life.
What I just said.
Sweet Summer Child, right, is one of them. I just want to punch everybody in the mouth who says that now. Oh, my sweet summer child. Stop.
Oh, you were there from the beginning, weren't you?
Yeah. Exactly, right. That kind of crap.
You've been reading those books.
The other one would be Fun Fact.
Fun fact.
Oh.
Don't tell me it's fun.
I've got one for you.
I will be the judge of that.
I've got one for you. You want to hear my peccadillo? Circle back. Don't circle back on me. You know what you can circle back on? You can circle back on the end of my middle finger. That's what you can circle back on. Because don't tell me you're going to circle back.
Right. Yeah. But to bring this around, like all of our biggest gripes that we've talked about, let me circle back to that point. My sweet summer children.
Let me circle
sons
now
of
that you're
bitches.
no longer a sweet summer child, let me share this fun fact with you that Aragorn, the actor who played Aragorn, actually broke his foot when he kicked that helmet, and the scream was real. Isn't that a fun fact?
Because it hurt.
Fun fact, as if I've never seen these films before.
Right. As if 15 million people haven't shared that fun fact before. Yeah.
Right. But we need some good writers. And I think there are good writers, but for whatever reason, I don't think any of them are getting heard at Disney because of the sheer number of, and it's not just Disney. We got Rings of Power, we got some of these other ones that are just
Amazon,
not hit. And kind of moving to a new subject, I've been watching a couple of shows that I'm 2 or 3 episodes in and be like, these are terrible. Just so let me save you guys some time.
Yeah, which ones are those?
One of those was True Lies, which is based on the Schwarzenegger movie from the 90s, which was done by James Cameron.
Yeah.
And one of my my top
like
10
your face
movies.
Looks
I like that movie. It's a fun movie, and so they're like, "Oh, here's the show based on it." I was like, "Let's do it." Should I continue, or are we just gonna
Come on.
No, I love making points that you guys run off on some tangent. I swear, it's like 3 of my ex-wives all in the same.
That's why we're friends.
Drew would love this exchange right now.
It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black. I mean,
Hey, shut up.
Hold up your Inquisition eye.
And mind you, for anyone who's listening, this is a man who liked every Will Smith movie he's ever seen.
Name one bad one.
Independence Day.
Oh, you are so wrong. My sweet summer child. Oh.
Bad Boys 3.
What about that? What about that?
Okay, Bad Boys
remake
3
of
wasn't
Omega
great.
Man?
Fun
What's
fact,
that?
Independence Day sucked.
Kelly,
Or
what?
that remake of Omega Man? That was awful.
Yeah, that was awful, man.
I even forget
Oh,
the
you
name
talking
of
about
it.
I Am
actually
Legend?
like that film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the I Am Legend.
I Am Legend was great. That was
I
what
actually
showed
like
the
that
world that Will Smith could actually act, because he was the only one in the movie.
He's so
Wasn't there a
lucky.
dog? There was a dog. Yeah,
The
so he
dog
wasn't
didn't have
the
any
only one.
lines.
There was. Well, he had a line when he got annihilated.
That movie was so bad the dog wanted to die. He ran in there with the zombies so that he could get bitten and
Man.
die.
He slept
dog
in a
wrote
bed
himself
better
out.
than anyone.
That was improvised. It
Will
was never
Smith
written
is
in.
an American treasure, and I lost so much respect for him when he smacked Chris Rock in the mouth.
I didn't lose any respect for him. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Chris Rock
I
is
was like,
the
"Wait,
funny
you
one.
guys are gonna have a slap fight in the middle of a live
I mean,
television
hey,
program?
look,
Great job,
in our group,
multimillionaires.
if you get hit, if you get someone so upset they hit you, you've accomplished what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And you actually take joy in that. You laugh.
You're not right. You're not wrong. But to get hit over that joke, I mean, I would actually watch her in G.I. Jane too. I think that would be great.
Wow, I can hear the crickets
but
right now.
you
Move
have
on.
to-
I know. Oh my God, we're gonna
You
have
have to look
to
at that
severely edit this
situation, you know,
episode.
You got two
I'm gonna put it in a laugh
multi-millionaires,
track.
two multi-millionaires getting in a slap fight on
See, the
live
studio
television.
audience liked it.
A laugh track. That would be funny. I'll tell you. Hey, you know what?
So True
show's
Lies,
great?
Mark. True Lies. Not good.
I wanted to
No,
give you
not good.
something as a counter to that one thing that has given and continues to give
What's that?
is and I know you can have favorite seasons and stuff like that. I still enjoy watching Sunny. Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yes. Anytime these like you were talking about, Mark, with True Lies or any of that gives me that agita, that migraine from having watched them. I go back and watch a few episodes of Sunny. Frank
Now,
coming
Danny
out of the
DeVito is the
couch.
treasure. Danny
Yeah,
DeVito
they're
is the
great. They're great. Dennis with all his binding equipment in the trunk, and all that. So many episodes of that I go back and take a look at, and it brightens my day. It does make it.
Yeah,
sunny.
but I also feel like they are trying to be safe. They are
Right,
in their lane. They're telling their jokes, and you know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the problem with some of this other entertainment. It's like, oh, we want to tell an action spy story, but we don't want to kill anybody.
Yeah.
And we
You
don't
want no
to,
evolution. You want
right, and it's just like, come on. Like the premise had me, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Episode 1 is basically a watered down retelling of the movie where he's got to go to this mission in Paris. His wife thinks he's cheating on her because he's always like out and away and doing, spy stuff. And he's like, no, I planned this surprise vacation, and you're coming with me to Paris. And so, oh no. And he's working with, a team of people who, instead of just Tom Arnold this time. And then of course the spies come after and try to capture him, and in the movie they actually got captured and taken to the island, but in this one they just beat some guys up and run away, and then she's like, oh no, my husband's a spy, oh no. And they're like, well, now that you got to be on the team, and then we're going to train you how to be a spy. And it kind of goes from there, and it's just awful. Like, no one's dying, no one's being, it wasn't a serious spy thing. Which
It wasn't
the
like
movie
the
wasn't either, but the movie was what the movie was. It
wasn't
this
like
larger than life.
It wasn't like The Old Man.
Right. The Old Man was a little more gritty and realistic, and
Even though it wasn't perfect,
grounded in that world. Right. Even
right.
Jack Ryan is meant to be, if not realistic, more plausible. It's not fantastical. Whereas, Arnold Schwarzenegger in True Lies, the movie, it was, he's running around, like he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know what I mean? And it was an over-the-top action movie, whereas these other ones are a little more grounded. This one is neither. You know what I mean? It's not the super gritty realistic. It's not the over the top ridiculous action. It is this watered down, brought to you by NBC. Here's a spy drama, and it's it's awful. And I'm sure there's like 3 people that like it maybe, but it's already been canceled after 1 season. So like I said, I think I'm 3 episodes in, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So then I moved on to the Amazon offering, I believe it's Amazon, of Citadel, which is kind of the same thing. It's like some action spy things. And I don't know.
Seen the trailer.
Yeah, and I don't know why it is that spies always lose their memory, but this guy like used to be a spy, and in the beginning of the episode, they're all doing the Bourne identity, and he can't remember anything. And there's some technical reason why they actually wiped his memory, kind of thing, remotely, computer MacGuffin nonsense. And of course, his ex-girlfriend, wife, I don't know, she's a super spy, and she gets her memories back. And now they got to go defeat the bad guys, and it's Citadel versus I don't know what the bad organization was called, I forget, but it's same kind of thing.
Cobra.
It was just like
Mersh.
Yeah, it was like Cobra versus G.I. Joe, and it was just it was like safe and terrible. At least they killed people, though. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little more, they're going for the gritty action, and they're having these fight scenes, and they're doing some things. And if I had to pick one, I'd pick that one.
I just remember the trailer for that.
What do you have if you don't have Homicide?
It looked a little sci-fi or something, I guess, at certain points or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
got some tech in it.
But then, like you said, Mark, the story started, whatever they were talking about in the trailer, and I was like, nah, I just don't.
It was good until they started talking.
Yeah, I just don't want to. Yeah, it's just not making me feel like chancing it, Yeah.
So, since this is Speak Nerd and Enter, can I make a Speak Nerd and Enter
No,
recommendation?
it's K-Man and Friends.
No.
Please get the
Moving
title
on.
right.
K-Man and Friends. We changed it.
Sorry, K-Man and Associates. So
I actually
I have a
like that name. I don't like
K-Man
that
and
name.
Associates. So I actually have a recommendation, a very nerdy recommendation. So how many of you remember this fine film, Hawk the Slayer? We're all
it looks
D&D
backwards.
heads. Yeah, it's,
Never
well,
seen
it's
it.
gonna be backwards because it's in the camera.
I'm gonna go
Wow.
see that after the podcast, so no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Any old D&D heads, will, especially of our era, because we're all about the same age. We all remember seeing that show on TV or UHF TV. But did you know that they actually did a sequel in comic book form?
Would you say that's a fun fact?
It's not a fun fact, but we will circle back to it. But it's by Garth Ennis and Henry Flint. You can get it.
Okay.
Garth Ennis.
Very good. Yeah, very good writer. But it picks up right where the where the movie left off, and it is a direct sequel to all the events in the film, all the same characters, and it is by Garth Ennis' description. He's like, we should never ever make this movie, but this comic book tells the story that you always wanted to see. So yeah, it's called Watch for Me in the Night. This was a limited series that they did in issue format, but they now make it in a trade paperback. But I highly recommend it. It's very good. If you like the old Hawk the Slayer, whether you saw it on Riff Tracks or Mystery Science Theater, or you saw it like us when you saw it originally, watching it on a black and white television like I did. It's a really good, respectful. It's got the introductions done by Simon Pegg, who is apparently also a big fan of the
Simon
zombie.
Pegg's a super nerd.
Yeah, he's a super nerd. Yeah, of Paul fame and all those other movies, Spaced and all those other things. But it's actually I highly recommend it. It's very entertaining, and it hits all those nostalgia bones. It clicks them all. So yeah, Hawk the Slayer. Watch for Me in the Night.
Okay. Did you pick that up at Free Comic Book Day?
I did not. I actually ordered it off of one of our services that doesn't sponsor us. So.
Okay, those bastards.
But yeah,
is it new? When did it come out?
It came out. Well, the comics came out last year or the year before. They just collected them this year. So the
trade paperback is new.
Trade paperback just came out this last month in April.
Okay.
I believe. But I picked it up as soon as it came out, and I was very pleased with it, especially since I actually met the guy at Gen Con one year who played Ranulph, the crossbowman with the super fast crossbow in one arm. Excellent actor, super cool dude. And he told me he's unfortunately, died as of this point. But he was in a lot of other film, like TV shows and stuff, Star Trek, Babylon 5, that sort of thing. But he told me bawdy stories about the set. I was the only one who brought a copy of the movie for him to sign of Hawk the Slayer. He's like, I didn't think anybody would bring this, because at that point he was famous for syndicated television, like I said, Babylon 5, Star Trek, that sort of thing. And he's like, I didn't think anyone would bring me this. And then he proceeded to talk to me for about 25 minutes while a line formed behind me about all the bawdy things they did on the Hawk the Slayer set.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. He gave me a
That's
signed
nice
picture.
That's nice when you bring something like that up. That's refreshing.
Yeah.
That way.
Kind
Kind of like with Mark and that dude from The Way of the Gun in Philly.
Right. Yeah, I met him in Philadelphia. But at that same show, we had the T-shirt booth was set up there, and right across from where we were set up was a place where the celebrities would come and sign stuff. So Elijah Dushku was there, who was also in True Lies. I think that was one of her first movies. But she was there, and there was some other guy there, and down at the end was the old guy from Cobra Kai, who was the bad guy in the second one or whatever, or even the first one. So like the Reese, is that his name? No, the guy who was running Cobra Kai in the first movie, who was like the bad
Kreese.
Kreese.
Yeah.
So that actor was there, and like nobody was at his booth the whole time. I kind of felt sorry for him, and so with the advent of Cobra Kai and his popularity since then, I was kind of happy about all that, because I'm all weekend I'm watching him, like he's got almost nobody at his booth. I'm like, that's gotta kind of suck.
Yeah,
and then Elijah Dushku, she'd roll in for her appointed, like, oh, I'm going to be there for an hour, and she'd roll in, do the things, and roll out. And then there was a guy like next to him. It was, and I've never seen the show, and I think it was Warehouse 13, and it was one of the actors, a guy on that show.
It's pretty good, actually.
And he was the nicest guy in the world. Like, he'd come out and he'd be in the line, he'd be taking pictures, he'd be over there messing with the other people. Like, he made me a fan of him just as I watched him interacting with the fans. Like, he was there, he was hanging out, he was there the whole time, and it wasn't like, oh, let me go in and do my contractually obligated hour of signing. Like, he was there for it, and like he kind of made me a fan of him. I'm almost ready to go watch the show just because of that. But to kind of bring it, let me circle back to probably one of the best shows I think I've seen recently, and that is The Peripheral, and it's got Chloe Grace Moretz in it, as we all know from Hit Girl, as from Kick-Ass.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really well done show. It's science fiction. Not going to get into all the details, but the gunplay is really, really good. I liked how everybody in this show was smart. You know what I mean? Like I'm tired of my entertainment that just has a lot of very dumb people in it. And like at one point, and I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, like some dude wants to kill them. And so he gets his car broken down on a bridge because he knows they're going to come by, and he's like, I'm going to kill him. And it doesn't go right. Some other person's like, hey, can I help you with your car? And he's like, no, I got it. I'm waiting for somebody or whatever. And anyway, they come up, and her character's in the passenger seat, and she sees this weapon that he has that she knows is like, oh, this is a bad guy it's not a gun, it's like a space gun thing or whatever. And so she turns to her I think it's her brother, and she's like, shoot him. And he's like, what? He goes, shoot him. And it was just like most people just wouldn't act that decisively, in a show. And I just really appreciated it. Was little things like that like, oh, we're in danger. I don't have time to explain this. Shoot that guy. And they do. Not immediately. There's a gunfight and whatever, and it's really cool. But the brother's not some bumbling idiot who can't figure it out, and his friends are all like ex-military, and like I said, it's a really well done show. There's some military near future stuff in it. They got drones, and they got haptic implants and things that do cool stuff, and so it's not like crazy sci-fi, but it's near future sci-fi. But the whole thing is really, really well done. And going back to our writing discussion, it is based on some novels. I know that I haven't read, but season 1 it was good. You know what I mean? Like, I thoroughly enjoyed that. So if there's some, don't watch Citadel, don't watch True Lies. If you haven't seen The Peripheral, go watch that. That is way better than any of these other shows.
So I'm learning that your bar for episode 1 of any show is somebody must die.
hurt.
Well, it depends. Like, you know, I watched season 1 episode of New Girl just the other day because I'd never seen it.
Did
My
somebody
wife's
die
like,
in
you gotta watch
episode 1?
this.
Yeah, did she
And
die?
nobody died in episode 1, and it was great. I loved it. I laughed. I cried.
It started like Air Force One. Remember when we saw that, Mark? And I said, you know what this movie needs to start with? A headshot. And I swear to you, what was it, like 2 seconds later, there it was. It was a headshot. We were like, all right.
This movie is going to be great.
So referring back to my recommendation, just so you guys know, I wasn't telling Porky Pies. That's where he signed my DVD. So that was really cool.
Because when you walked away, we were having a discussion about how much we didn't believe you.
His name is Morgan Shepherd, is the guy who played Ranulph. Yeah, it was. You're right, Sean. It's like that kind of experience. I mean, that's the sort of thing that most fans don't take the time to engage in. You know, you'll see people sitting at the convention halls, and they're hanging out at their table, and there'll always be one or two that are super famous, you know, and they'll be the hot thing, but there'll always be that guy who's been in 3-4, you know, B-rate movies that no one comes to talk to, and it's really interesting what you'll get out of them if you just take the time. It's like, hey, I really enjoyed the film that I saw you in. And he's like, oh, you want to talk to me? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, see,
here's all this stuff.
I think a lot of people, of course, are there for themselves, and I think it's unusual when you get someone who, you know, kind of knows the deep cuts, you know, who appreciates that stuff. And I think it's just novel instead of having to go to the road answers again and again. You know, that now you got something different, something fresh to deal with, you know.
Well, you don't know. As I've come to terms with the fact that I am now a celebrity because of this podcast, I for one,
the most well liked.
I like the fans that just move along. You know, come in, get your thing done, get out. I got things to do with my day.
So
away with you, like peasants. Away with you. I've signed your paltry worship. Now away.
Right. So
like
when I go to the Comic-Con when we're invited to speak, you know, and I'm at the booth signing things, Rich, I just want you to move people along. Just keep the line going.
I will. I'll just look at them and bear grudges upon them. That's all I'll do.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you.
I'll put them in the book.
Hey, Kelly, have you ever seen Alan Partridge?
No.
Please look that up.
No, I know. Yeah, I know it. I don't think I've ever sat down and watched any of it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the series, not the movie was good, but I mean the series, the first and second series they did of that. Dude, please watch those. I think you'd enjoy that, and I think about that every time we crack jokes and stuff like that. But I think you'd enjoy that one a lot.
It shall be done.
And I demand you watch the Partridge Family, all of it.
There were only 7 TV shows when we were growing up. We've all seen them.
Partridge Family was one of them.
Right. I never watched it.
I never watched it.
Really?
No, I
don't think I've ever seen a single episode.
No,
really?
I just remember they had that school bus, right? That was all painted in the wacky colors.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yes, correct. Yep.
I couldn't tell you anything about the show.
This is all bringing back the rage I felt as that show was playing on one of the channels when I was a kid, and I was thinking, why can't we have something good taking up the time? We have so few, so little.
Yeah, no, I watch things like Cosmos or the McNeil Lehrer NewsHour. You know,
I mean, I tried to watch the Dungeons and Dragons animated show, but it kept getting preempted by bowling for dollars.
No, I went and looked up on YouTube the other day some episodes of Johnny Sacco because I remember watching that as a kid, and boy, that's terrible. I didn't know any better when I was a kid, but I was like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that in forever. I was like, let me look it up.
You know, people who see that stuff now, they kind of think, well, how stupid must you have been to think that was cool and all that. As a kid, when you're watching that stuff, you fill in the blanks is what I found that I did. So you go to school and have arguments about who was better, Johnny Sacco or Ultraman and all that. By the way, Ultraman was. But when you're watching watching those shows, the stuff that's bad, you kind of blow past that. It's not like you don't see it. It's not like you don't realize that dude in a suit who's rolling over those, buildings and stuff and supposed to
Made
like
of cardboard and
right.
fake and
You know
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. It's just as a kid, you just want to have fun, so you fill in the blanks.
Right. I mean,
So
just look
that's
at any
what you
young
did.
person programming. It's the same crap.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
interesting to me,
absolutely the
though,
same.
speaking of young person's programming, so we're all Generation X fellas, and but the difference, you guys
Far
all
as you
grew
know.
up. As far as I know, some of you are much more ancient. But
My
you know,
500 years of existence.
I identify as Generation Triple X.
so, but you guys all grew up much further south than me. Your children's programming
So
was different from
stupid.
what I experienced because I grew up on the Canadian border. So I used to get children's television shows that you guys like. Johnny Sacco, I've never heard of, but you guys have never heard of the hilarious House of Frankenstein, which I used to watch. Or I don't know, you might have heard of this one,
Mr. Canoehead.
So you were
But
raised
also-
with Canadian programming?
That's an actual character.
I was actually, since I lived on the border, I actually used to get both Canadian channels and the American channels. So I'd wake up in the morning and they'd actually play the American anthem first and the Canadian anthem second, because we were that close to the border. But
Explains a lot.
yeah, it
It's
does.
ridiculous.
But
He got to see
it's-
them playing it being a
Yeah.
country.
but the thing that it gave me is it gave me like television shows that like today, if you talk about children's programming, they all watch the same thing because there's only like 3 networks, right? But when we were kids, like I grew up much different area of the country than you guys. I had completely different programming than you did, and it was more, I don't know, not based, but it was more influenced by the area that I lived in than the stuff like those local shows that you guys used to get down here. I didn't get, but I used to get stuff that you didn't get, and kids don't have that nowadays. They're not influenced by the local area.
A lot of maple themed shows. Is that what
Well, I mean, I did have to listen to the Farming Report before
A
the
lot of
cartoons
apologetic shows.
came. No, it wasn't. Canada didn't used to be like that.
And
When
he didn't
Canada-
have Captain 20 like we did.
No, when Canada back in my day, in my earlier days, when I was a kid, Canada was rough and tumble. It was not what it's developed into now. Like
Rough and
you go to
tumble
Canada and
Ontario.
you expect to get into a fight. I mean that's what you get into.
Canadians can't fight. Come on.
They definitely can fight, but
I've seen Eugene.
not the
let
current-
No,
them
I
run
take that
Canada.
back. That was me just being a little. I apologize to Canadians. You guys play way
you're
more
gonna hurt
hockey
our
than we
Canadian
do. And
fans
that is
feelings.
that is
Our
embedded
one
into
fan.
the sport. I take that back. Canadians, I'm sure, fight very, very well.
Yeah,
I
they do.
apologize to our one Canadian listener.
Yeah,
On
it's our one
skates, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
Paul.
my point being is it just regarding children's program from the nerd perspective is that they no longer have the variety that they used to have when we were kids. Like we had all sorts of
No.
stuff we can watch. Like Ultraman never made it up to us. That was a West Coast thing, and down here by you guys. You guys had local horror guys that did the creature features, right?
Yeah, that was Captain 20. Yeah.
Captain 20. Yeah, we didn't have him. That was Captain 20. That was like the whole DMV area.
That's
So
where
you have indoor
Elvira
toilets
started
up
too,
there?
right? Like she was doing
I-
that kind of the creature feature stuff on television.
Yeah, but it was local. Like I never
Right.
I never knew about Elvira until she was famous when I was much older. When I actually was looking at Elvira and not looking at her programming. So
Neither
I was
anyone
checking out her
else.
programming.
yeah, I was checking out her programming too. when
That's how I
was a kid.
felt about Captain 20.
Spectacular.
That's right. Don't
Now
get
we're
me
getting
started
to
on
the
Mark
word
Van's
matter
Cat.
here on Speak Nerd and Enter, everybody.
Oh,
on Came In and Associate. And this is why we have so few fans. But Kelly, do you have any recommendations since we're doing kind of a round robin show?
Or stay away from.
old reruns of the McNeil Lehrer report.
Those still hold up well. They've aged well.
Reruns of Agronsky and Company.
I actually used to watch. My dad used to watch McNeil Lehrer and Crossfire, and I was raised on Crossfire as well.
Okay, yeah, no, my dad would watch Agronsky and Company, which was like
Yeah,
a political roundtable show,
Yeah.
back in the.
I started
80s
watching
or whatever.
MASH. It's got this real up and comer. His name is Alan Alda. You guys should check it out.
It's a young, dashing up and comer. I've actually been to Jamie Farr's house, who played Klinger.
Have you
on
really?
that. Yeah, I did. When I lived in California, we were going to deliver
It's a great
something,
Speak
and
Nerd
a
story.
guy was friends with his son, and we go into this gated community, like up in this valley, and we can't find the house we're looking for. And he's like, "Let me stop in here and ask for like a map or see if they know." And so we go to the house. It was raining outside, and I heard his voice on the intercom because he rings the doorbell, and he's like, "Yeah, come on in." And so I met his wife. So I haven't met him. I heard his voice. We go in, and they give us a map or whatever, and like. That's my brush with stardom. As I went to Jamie
let me
Farr's
ask you a
house.
question. Serious question.
Yeah.
So did he ask you if you wanted anything to drink?
No.
Okay. If he did, would you have answered 2 milk? Because that's the best Jamie Farr thing from Cannonball Run I ever saw. And I'll take 2 milk.
Okay. I
Cannonball
no.
Run.
Cannonball
Wow.
Run.
That's a good one.
Wow.
I saw that at a drive-in theater, as a matter of fact, as I recall.
Yes.
That Smokey the Bandit.
Jamie Farr played the Sheik in that film.
Did he? Okay.
Yes, he did. Yes, that's why I bring it up, because girl who is quite busty leans down in front of him, and he's like, I will marry you when I come back. But he asked for 2 minutes. So
wow,
yeah,
Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run, classic. One
deep cut.
Yes, deep cut. a little Speak Nerd ninja.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. Circling back around to Cannonball
Fun fact:
Run.
the Sheik was played by
Jamie Farr.
Jimmy Farr.
He was excellent. But that's an excellent story, actually, Mark. I've never been to any famous celebrity's house.
Okay.
Although I did meet Adrienne Barbeau in a hotel elevator, which is pretty cool.
I did meet Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas when I worked at Costco.
I know that Costco, as a matter of fact. Okay.
Adrian,
it's funny to think of him at the Costco.
Right.
I mean, where else would he go?
He needs discount meat as well.
He's getting the $1.75 hot dog and soda combo, right? Like the rest of us.
For some reason,
front,
I picture him
roach
arguing
coach.
about a coupon at the the register.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you mean it's expired? No, it's not. But
so I speaking of Adrienne Barbeau, when I met her in the elevator, she was trying to it was I was working for Games Workshop at the time, as you all know, we all used to do, and we were having a convention there, and they were also having a horror convention that same weekend, and she was one of the guest stars.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and she walked into the elevator, and in case you didn't know, Adrienne Barbeau is very short. She's she's like 5'4".
Like Tom Cruise short, or
she's very short. Yeah, she was shorter than, she came up to maybe here on me, so she's pretty short. But she's very pretty lady still. She was much older, but when I met her, from when she was in Escape from New York. But I was like, oh, I saw her come in. She was wearing big granny glasses, like big bug-eye granny glasses, and she was trying to be incognito. And I saw her, and I didn't want to make a big fuss of her, but I kind of leaned over to her and said, "I really like your films." And she said, "Oh, thank you." Just kind of tucked herself away in the elevator. But
I bet back all the way.
She did.
Thank you.
I didn't want to make a big deal because no one else had noticed her.
Was that her pepper spray?
Yeah.
So
I didn't want to.
Well, if we're talking about famous people that we've met, I once met John Blanche.
Oh,
Who's that?
Yeah.
Congrats.
And Rick Priestley and Jervis Johnson.
Yeah, I met all of them.
The back of my hand.
Anyway, Kelly, check out Alan Partridge. Those two.
Alan Partridge.
It was only I think 6 episodes of each, or it's usual British fare that way as far as length and such. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think of that. I wanted to talk just a little bit, Rich, about in 40K, that new Lionel Johnson book.
Yes,
Son of the Forest.
Yeah,
now, I know Mark and Kelly. I know
is that a Star Wars book?
They wish. They wish.
It's a mix between Star Wars and Dune.
Yeah,
it's a crossover.
Dune, but taking place in Middle Earth in the Fourth Age. Lionel Johnson in that book and everything. Well, I don't. How to explain this? I listened to the whole book, and as I was listening to it, I thought, do I want to stop listening to this or keep listening to it? And I kept listening to it. So there must have been something that I enjoyed enough to.
All right, now let me stop you right
keep
there. The
going.
setting of this book is current 40K, not
Era,
30K
yeah.
heresy.
Aaron Nihilus,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's his
Aaron
return kind of thing in
Indomitus
conjunction with the
Crusade
figure.
era.
Aaron
Yeah, okay.
Nihilus,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why
But
would
it
you?
was-
I mean, I'm sorry. Why would you want to stop listening? Was it just not?
Well,
Was it
that's
that bad?
my point. That's my point.
Yeah,
is
this
that
is I'm curious
the
about.
writer was not up to the level I felt that the Horse Heresy stuff had been up to, or the other Indomitus stuff had been up to.
Oh no, it's
I
yeah,
hadn't.
yeah.
Man, I got so tired of hearing. What was his catchphrase? It was. It
Fun
wasn't
fact?
nevertheless.
I'll buy that for $1.
Well, no,
No.
every so the second tier writers, I brought this up to Mark privately, but they always latch on to one phrase that they keep repeating, and in this book, it was punching above their weight. Constantly, he's like, he was punching above his weight. He was punching above their weight.
Punching above his weight, and it was nevertheless or
Cowabunga, dude.
No, it was some variation of nevertheless or something like that. Is so and so felt nevertheless.
I take that as a sign
again and again and again.
Yeah, I take that as a sign of where that particular writer, because they may not be as strong as the writers that are doing the Horus Heresy, and it's not a drawback to them. I found the book to be very entertaining. I really enjoyed the lore that it pushed forward. But the writing was not as
it wasn't
polished
as
as the Horus Heresy. Yeah,
it didn't have the nuance that the other books have.
Yeah,
the ones that you even the ones you don't like, Kelly. There were some that she said, I didn't like that one. There's too much going on, or things like that. But there was at least some sophistication to the complications. That's what this felt almost like a very brief, I don't know, a truncated, I don't know how to describe it, almost like you're taking this character on an adventure in an RPG. Like, you meet these other dark angels that he's redeeming, fallen angels. I mean, in rapid succession, and it just blows right through, what would have been, you would think, longer stories about the discovery of, and convincing them of, and
so it struck you like
and all that stuff, and half an hour.
So the writer was trying to quickly dispatch with an issue and get to a point.
Yeah, it was formulaic. It was very formulaic.
It felt very formulaic, and it felt very like it was taking a lot of shortcuts that way. Mm-hmm. And the villain, I thought, was
he was okay.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He was just okay. He was not a match for a Primarch. He's not a match for a Primarch at all.
Well, he just wasn't. He like Abaddon, I thought, was written a lot better. Kind of thing. Much more compelling as a character. Even Luther was written very well. In the book Luther, where I
haven't read that one, but I hear it's a good one. Yeah,
it is a good one. Every few centuries or 1,000 years, whatever Grand Master will wake him up for a day to interrogate him, and then put him back into stasis.
Punch him in the face for a day.
Right, and then put him back into stasis. And so it was kind of a cool book, and listening to it from Luther's side and all this stuff. That was really cool, a compelling character. Mm-hmm. The villain in this was not. I just didn't. I do like Lionel Johnson. Mm-hmm. I like the character, and I like the fact that he's back. I just wish it had been in more competent hands.
Yeah, I found the way that he was written in this novel to be. It was very much a reflection of his confusion of being tossed 10,000 years into the future, because
and that's
basically, and that was fine. I did like that, but I think you're correct. I think the supporting characters weren't as interesting as they could have been for such a major character. They were less. They just weren't very much of a challenge for him. It's like, oh, okay, he's not.
That's disappointing, especially given the weight of the character that you're trying to reintroduce into the.
Right. That's exactly it. And I like the premise of Lionel Johnson being who he is now. I like the arc that they gave him there. Yeah. And here he is. He wakes up. Things are so different and all that. And he's kind of like, he looks back on things and figures, I'm not going to be that same person. I'm going to be
Well-
different now. I'm going to be more mature. I'm going to do this in a different way because, man, it ended up messed up last time. So he's doing things different. I like that arc for the character.
Yeah,
and I
yeah, I
really
do
was
too.
looking
Yeah.
forward to that ride.
Yeah.
I just, man, it just,
Well, it's
now I
I think
did
the
finish
pros
the book,
fell
though.
down and didn't deliver on the premise.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, you read
really.
the Plague War series, Sean, where it was basically the same thing with Gilliman, right? And what they did with 3 books in the Plague War series, they truncated into 1 book with this, and that's maybe where you're feeling like it just felt very rushed because it's like, oh, we only got 280 pages to get to this story that really could fill up 3 books, you know.
And
really
even
could.
the stuff that was rushed felt like it was not written. I don't want to say it was written awfully.
It was competent. It just wasn't very
that's
interesting.
the thing.
Yeah,
That's the thing. It felt like this writer should have been writing an Imperial Guard book or something like that, you know, just to get their feel for things maybe, and then move on to this. This would have been something I would have thought they'd have had one of the big guys, you know, writing.
Well, one of the more, you know,
Maybe they were
famous, you know, writers. But I mean, this guy, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the book. You know, I found it. I do see the flaws that you're saying in it because there were parts of it I was like, man, this just doesn't seem to be on the level of where it should be for the Primarch of the Dark Angels. Like, this is a huge story that's very important to, you know, lots of people around the world, and they're just kind of like, oh, we're gonna get through this, and he's got this kind of minor chaos villain that he's gonna go up against, and you know he's not gonna lose to him. I mean, but then you read what they put in the Arcs of Omen books, if you read the lore in the Arcs of Omen books, and it's excellent, you know, and it's very broad and sweeping, but that takes place after this book. So this book's kind of like the prelude to it. But I do say that I agree with you. I'm very happy at how they developed his character from where he was in the 30th, you know, in the Horus Heresy to where he is now, and his change of outlook, which is something you don't really expect from a Primarch. You don't expect a Primarch,
especially from him.
Yeah, to have a development, and he hasn't been active for 10,000 years. So it's like he's come to all these realizations on his own, and he's like, well, this didn't work for me the first time. I'm going to try something different. Whereas Gilliman picked up exactly where he left off, and Gilliman's exactly the same as he was before.
Well, see, I understand that though, because Gilliman actually was successful at what he was doing.
I guess
the lion was.
He was not.
His ego and everything led him to where he was, and all the stuff that happened. And so him waking up after that, and kind of like a second chance at life and all that stuff. It was kind of cool to see that and see his character change, because I found myself like, you know what? I'm actually kind of eager to see where this goes, because I'd like to see this version of Lionel Johnson doing his thing. You know,
I like his character in this era much more than I like Gilliman's. Gilliman, I understand better. Yeah, but having read the Plague War series, I understand. Like at the beginning, I was Gilliman just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But at the end of reading the 3 Plague War books, I had a much better understanding of why he was the way he was and how he had got there. And I found him to be a much more
sympathetic.
Well, not sympathetic, but he had much more depth than I assumed he had at the beginning, because I knew much more about why he thought the way he thought and kind of pressures that were on him. But I like Lionel Johnson, even in this one book, and I give the writer credit for this, even in the truncated space that he had to describe what could have been a much longer story. He very much made me see that development. So I give him credit for the development that you're talking about that you like in Lionel Johnson. He managed to put in a much smaller space it took me to get to where I am with Gilliman, and I give the writer credit for that. But at the same time, I do think I agree with you. I find that the writing itself is less polished than I would have liked for something this big to be going on.
I think it's just incredibly ballsy for somebody to come wandering back into the Imperium after 1,000 or 10,000 years,
10,000 years,
and claim to still be a Primarch of a Legion. You know, I'm sorry, buddy, you got to start at the bottom. Okay, we've already moved on.
Here's your laser gun, right? You're gonna show the front line.
In all fairness,
I'm 10 feet tall. Shut up. Get over there. Follow orders.
It's funny you mentioned that, Kelly, because he doesn't claim to do that.
No, he
comes
doesn't.
back
Yeah.
and he says,
He's
I
very
am
humble.
Lionel Johnson, but he says to him, he says, look, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
If you want to follow me, you can follow me. And if you don't want to, that's fine.
Yeah.
It
No
depends on how
worries.
much he's willing to pay.
At one point, a whole planet offers him
Kelly's
his-
not even part of the Legion.
Yeah, So no, but get this, Kelly, and this was actually one of the things that was very well written.
Hey, Lionel, who are you? What is this?
At one
What are you
point,
doing?
a planetary
Following
governor,
me.
a planetary governor who's been on their own fighting chaos for 1,000 years offers them their entire military force. Says, this force is yours, and he says, no, it's not. I will lead them if you want me to, but you are in command. I will lead them for you. And that showed a depth of, I don't know, Lionel Johnson in the past, he would have been like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What are you saying? But
Yeah,
this,
there would have been no question.
yeah, he's very not sensitive, but he's very aware of the fact that he's been gone forever. And he doesn't assume that he's just going to take command of everything,
And not just that, he still has that part of himself in there. It's not like it's gone.
Yeah.
He recognizes that he feels that way. That this
yeah.
is how he feels. Like, who the hell are you? You talking to me? I'm Lionel.
Yeah.
You know who I am? But he recognizes that part of himself and is actively quashing it because he knows that didn't do any good. That didn't help at all.
That didn't
He's
get me
gotta
where I
do
wanted to
something
be.
better.
In fact,
Just
it broke my
imagine the level of hubris to roll in after 10,000 years ago. Do you know who I am? No. It's been 10,000 years.
Well,
I don't know who
that's
you
what.
are.
That's
Exactly.
what
Well, come on.
Was like.
One of the chaos
pretty
sons
easy
of
to
the
see.
emperor. I mean, we expect hubris.
But that's what Gilliman was like. When Gilliman came back, he didn't even question. He's like, "Yeah, I'm in command. I'm the regent, and you'll listen."
Shows up and meets Kelly, and within the first 5 minutes, he's fallen into chaos through rage. Comes
I
out
didn't vote for you.
Comes
Here's
out
the eye.
following corn.
So, from what I understand, in the latest issue of White Dwarf, they actually have excerpts. And I haven't read these yet, but I've heard them talk about. They have excerpts of how all the Imperium view Lionel Johnson's return. So what the Administratum thinks, what the Council thinks, what the other legions think. I'm very interested to that part of it is very interesting to me because it is a big deal that he came back, but he came back subversively. It's like first the Blood Angels heard about him, then like his guys, the Risen, heard first, but his own legion didn't hear about it first. The Blood Angels heard about it first.
Yeah.
Then his legion finds out, and apparently then the Space Wolves find out. They hear the rumors. So it's very interesting to me to see how apparently there's perhaps a secret war against all the Primarchs from the High Lords of Terra, and there's kind of a conflict between them.
What? The humans trying to usurp power from the Emperor's golden empire?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, the sun. The true sons
Humanity
of the
just needs to
Emperor,
descend. I swear to God, the Eldar need to come back and just take everything
There we
over
go.
and make it run right.
Get the eye ready. Mark.
No, you got the
Yeah,
wrong
ready.
faction. You got the wrong faction, Kelly. The one that needs to win in the end is the Jacaro.
Oh, most certainly. I agree
True.
with that. 100%.
Digital weapons.
The Dark Horse, no one pays attention to him. No one takes him seriously. Oh, look at the funny little monkey, And they need to win. It needs to be just like out of the movie Nope. Remember that, Mark?
Yeah.
They need to be.
Yeah.
In the end, it needs to be the Jacaro. So,
I agree with
all
that.
I can think of, and I almost don't want to bring this up, the third Star Wars prequel, whatever, the one with Kylo Ren in it or whatever, when he gets his helmet, he smashed his helmet, and then he brings it to the guy, and they rebuild it, and it's got like that Japanese, and there's basically like this monkey guy using tools to put it back together. And every time I see that little scene, I'm like, that's a Jacaro, like putting his helmet back together. And I was like, that's the closest thing we've ever seen to that on film. So
you know who the Jacaro? I just realized. You know who the Jacaro remind me of? Some weird little anime character. It seems like something they would have in an anime.
Yeah.
That you're just like, wow, that's kind of cool. Look at that. Never really says anything. You see this orangutan over there with like reading glasses on, sitting there with screwdriver or something, doing something. Never talks, never, interacts with anybody.
For our three fans that are confused, this is a very deep nerd 40K cut here with the Jacaro.
They don't deserve any explanation.
Truth.
If you don't know about the Jacaro,
right.
That's
You
on
don't
you.
know.
deserve to.
it's
Find
funny.
out.
I'm driving with my wife today, and I said, oh, like last time I uploaded an episode, I uploaded it to YouTube, I also uploaded it to Spotify, but I forgot to fill in the info and click publish on Spotify. So we're like one behind on there. And she goes, "Oh, I don't really pay attention to like what number it is or the title. It'll just tell me, oh, there's a new episode, and I listen to it." And then she'd be like, "Yeah, and I understand." It was like, "Oh, I understood that reference. Nope. Oh, I understood that. Nope. So she's missing she's not even trying to understand the Jacaro and stuff.
She's
like that.
just fast forwarding, waiting for Kelly.
It's all
to say
parts of
something.
Kelly.
Yeah. And where's Kelly's part? Let me get to that.
The rest of us are just we're.
Can we just have a series of hot takes of Kelly?
It's Kelly and associate.
That's right. Well, I am the editor, so we could
And
make that
associate.
happen.
Her flushing, turning red. Oh, like me with Captain 20. Oh,
Oh my God, true story, man. Back in high school, what was it? There was a substitute teacher who used to play baseball. It was like minor league baseball. I think his name was Joe Jacoby or something like that. Don't quote me on the name. But he's a substitute teacher, and he comes in. I don't
think he used to
I don't
play
know
for
if that's
the
somebody
Redskins.
else or not. But literally, I saw like 3 girls on the front row doing that. They're like looking at this guy all dreamy and whatnot. Like I always thought that was like from a movie or something. Like it was so like you don't think of that as real. And I'm like some strapping young man comes in and he's teaching math or whatever as a substitute. These girls on the front were like, oh.
Do one of them have
Oh my
love
God.
you on their eyelids?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Dr. Jones.
Are you guys going to go see that when it comes out?
What?
No.
Of course I'm going to go see it.
No.
How would I not go see an
Dial
Indiana
of
Jones
Dial of
movie?
Destiny? No.
Yeah, they got
Oh,
me.
the
I'm
new
going to go
Indiana
see
Jones?
it.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't
I'm
seen
going to write
any
it off
Indiana
on my
Jones
taxes
movies in a
for
while.
I'm going to
the
watch
Speaking
it
Nerd
for
and Enter
free
research
when it comes out on
purposes.
streaming. I am not going to pay them money to sit in a theater to be disappointed.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I got an 11-year-old at home, so I'm going to go see it.
Mark's going to go see it. He'll come back talking about how it's the next big thing right after I Am Legend.
It's going to be so great.
Yeah.
He's going to put it up there right with I Am Legend, Transformers,
Look,
True
we
Lies,
don't
Alien.
Don't forget Men in Black.
we don't speak down on the nerds. We just mock them when they're wrong.
Oh, Mark, you never cease bringing me joy.
I actually
In the
I have
same
to-
way
I
that
have
Will
to-
Smith never ceases to bring
I
me
have
joy.
to agree with Mark. I despite Will Smith's in real life personality, I do enjoy his films. I like his films. I do.
I don't mind him in real life. He seems like a nice enough guy who is
I don't know him, so I can't.
As long as
make
you don't make jokes
I
about
know
his
him very
wife.
well. I know.
Well,
I just-
I don't like his wife. I think this is all
I just
really
know
about her
Yeah.
and her shenanigans and nonsense and that bullshit.
I just know they have an open relationship, and he slapped Chris Rock on live TV. So that's all I really know about him. But I
But
enjoy it.
previous to all that, like let's forget about all that for a second. Here's a guy who started
Done.
out in music, right? No, but like he started out in music, and then Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was all comedy, right? He was kind of this goofy comedy, and then he went over to do movies, and he's done big movies, right? He's done, he's a legitimate star of dramatic and action movies. And so like I always looked at him like, man, that is an American success story. This is a kid from the streets of Philly who who's gone to the top of entertainment.
Yeah.
And so like all of this nonsense is going on with it. It's kind of a shame.
he was an A-list actor for a long time.
Right, exactly.
Didn't he win an Oscar for that movie that he was in with the kid?
Yeah, but nobody cares because he smacked a guy right before that.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar the night he smacked the guy.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know what for. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to go to a movie.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, real quick before Kelly goes, let's talk about what I didn't like about Guardians of the Galaxy. So anyway, Groot dies. They pour weed killer on him.
Weed killer. That's funny.
And he's out.
Oh, Kelly left.
All right.
Excellent episode, gentlemen, for round robin.
I guess that's the end of K-Man and Associates.
Yeah.
All right. It's just the associates now.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. I will see you next time. Mark, I can't wait to see or hear what your thoughts are on it and all that, and to share the correct view of what it was and how good it was or bad it was and all that stuff, and tell you what you should think.
Excellent.
That's right. Tune in next time, dear readers.
All right, man. I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.